Hi guys, I hope you all had a good weekend. Happy Monday. You made it through the first week, so congratulations. We are 1 week closer to being done with the school year. Um, Before we get started today, I want to remind you guys that after you finish assignments, be sure you go back and take the attendance quiz. I've had quite a few of you who have turned assignments in but haven't turned in or done that attendance quiz. So if you would, after you finish an assignment, we'll make sure you go back and take the quiz so that we can mark you as here. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started with our next topic. And I said on Friday we were going to switch gears a little bit. We are going to move from history to geography. And we're going to talk about the 5 themes of geography and like what are they, why you need to know them, all of that stuff. So as always, our daily objective is to understand and be able to explain each of these 5 themes and why they are important to us. And then your daily question, as I'm sure you've already seen, is do you think that where someone lives in the world can impact their daily lives? So does where someone live in the world can impact what they do with their life? So the first thing I want to go over is just talking about what is geography. According to our friends at Google and the internet, geography is defined as the study of the physical features of the earth and how human activity is affected by physical features. It's kind of a lot, but for us, really what we're looking at is what's an area like? What do people do in that area? What is the landscape like in that area? And how has it affected the way people have done things from fought wars to trade to cultural symbols, all kinds of different things that we're going to look at. But really, we're looking at what's the area like that we're studying. Physically, what is it like? Is it a desert, mountains, flat, rainy, that kind of thing? Some examples, we might look at the physical features of India, such as the Himalayan mountains, this bottom picture here, and how living in these mountains has impacted what people do for a living, what clothes they wear, what food they eat. All kinds of things can be impacted by this, and that's kind of what we're looking at when we talk about geography, is just how has the area around some people influenced what they do. Another example is the Nile River in Egypt. Egypt is largely an empty desert except for along the Nile River, and yet you have this one of the most famous civilizations in human history in the middle of a desert. How? Largely because of this river. So that's kind of what we're looking at with geography. And then to help us kind of do that, we're going to break it down a little bit into 5 themes that will show up quite a bit over the course of the school year. Those are location, place, region, movement, and then human environment interaction, or if you want to abbreviate it, is HEI. That is perfectly fine with me. You don't have to spell that out every single time. So going forward, if you just want to put HEI to show that you're talking about human environment interaction, perfectly fine. I wouldn't want to write that all the time either. But the first one we're going to look at is location. Location is simply where is it in the world? Where is the place we are talking about? For us, that can be mentioned in one of 2 ways: absolute location or relative location. Absolute location is exactly where something is in the world. Usually, it's given in the form of GPS coordinates, latitude and longitude points, or simply as an address. And any of those things will tell you exactly where in the world something is. An example is the White House is located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That tells you exactly where you can find the White House. So absolute location is just simply where is it in the world. Relative location, on the other hand, is kind of a general description of where something is. Kind of tells you roughly where that place is. An example would be something like Tehran, the capital of Iran, is in north central Iran. Doesn't really tell you exactly where in Iran it is, but it tells you that it's in the north. It's north and in the central part of the country. So if you pull up a map of Iran, you would look kind of north of in the northern part of the country, and then in the center, and you might be able to find where it is. But relative location doesn't give you an exact location. So again, absolute tells you exactly where something is, such as an address, GPS, coordinates, longitude, what have you. Relative just simply tells you it's generally in this place. Okay, so that is the first of the five themes. The second one is place. You might think place and location are the same. And for the most part, you would be right except for one kind of key difference. Place doesn't refer to where an area is. Instead, it refers to an area's landscape. So the climate of an area, the people who live there, the physical features, that kind of thing. So an example would be something like the landscape of Iraq, you see here, is dominated by deserts and the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. So based off of that, you get an idea of what the place Iraq is like. It doesn't really tell you where Iraq is in the world, but it can tell you, okay, if you're in Iraq, this is kind of what you will see. You'll see deserts and these two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. So they're similar in that they're both talking about a location, but place kind of looks at what is at that place. So like, what is it like? What is the climate like? What are the physical features like? So this can be a little confusing. So if you need me to explain it better, I'm more than willing to kind of help you understand this. But think of place as simply what an area is like. And then location is where is it. So if you're locating something, you're finding out where it is. And if you're telling me about a place, you're usually talking about what it's like there. So hopefully that kind of helps a little bit. The next one we're going to talk about is human-environment interaction. Again, you can abbreviate it HEI. And so this theme largely looks at how people today and in the past have interacted with and changed their environment to meet their needs. This could look like, how did they use the area's land? Did they farm? Did they do mining? What crops did they grow? What was the climate like? What plants can you find there? Animals. So just things that people might interact with on a daily basis that involve their environment. When we're looking at this theme in particular, we're usually looking at how the environment has influenced what people did. So how did living in the Midwest influence what crops people planted? Did they have to cut down a forest to build their city? Is the weather the same? Is it unpredictable? What is the weather like there? What kind of clothes do they have to wear because of where they live? And so on. So human environment interaction is simply, how do people interact with their environment? Movement is the next thing we're going to look at. And this one's pretty simple. It's literally studying how and why people move from place to place. So why did they go from China to Italy, as you see on the Silk Road map here? Why and how? How did they get from China to Italy? Did they fly? Did they take a car? Did they carpool? Did they take an Uber? So just kind of looking at where they went and how they got there. This is important for us to look at because it can give us information on what's happening around the world. Today, I mean, it's pretty easy to just go on the internet and Google what's happening in China. But in the past, you relied on people who might be traveling along trade routes or who knew somebody from China to get information about what's happening. And so it can kind of tell us what's going on there. You might find out that there's a drought in Greece right now. You might find out that there's a war in China that you probably want to avoid. And just information that we find useful in kind of understanding what's going on around us. Think of movement as another way to get context of what's happening in the world. If that kind of helps a little bit. And then it's also just kind of gives an idea of how trade worked. We've learned quite a bit about who interacted with who based off of movement. We've learned that people in East Africa were trading with people as far away as China. So we learned that largely because of movement between the two and stories that were told, documents that were created, what have you. So it was important for us to study the movement of people so we know, so we have an idea of what happened. And then the last one we're going to look at is regions. So regions were created to make it easier for geographers to study a large area, such as the United States. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the fact that if you go over to Ohio, it's, for the most part, it's very similar to Indiana. Same crops, same weather, same accent, if you will. But if you go down to the southeast, I'm here like Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, yeah, we're all American. It's still the United States, but the way people talk, the accents is different. What food they eat is a little different. Things like that. As the United States, it's kind of hard to break that down. So they've created this idea of regions to kind of make it easier for us to study different parts of a place. I have the map of the United States up here, but when we get into like China, we'll look at the different regions of China and see, okay, in this region they did this, they grew this crop, but in this region, the climate wouldn't allow them to grow that crop, so they had to do this instead. And you can kind of think of that here, like in the Midwest, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, we grow a lot of corn, soybeans, that kind of thing. Can't really do that in Arizona when it's 110 degrees every day. So it's just a way of grouping things together that have a lot in common, such as language, food, clothes, weather, climate, same physical features, and so on. So again, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, pretty much have the same physical features. It's pretty flat. But if you go out to Colorado, you have the Rocky Mountains. If you go to Arizona, you have desert, you have the Grand Canyon, that kind of thing. So it's just a way of breaking a large area, such as the United States in this case, down into something that's easier for us to understand. And that is all I have for you guys. So on the next page of the module, you will find the assignment for today. I switched it up a little bit. We're not doing a Word doc, we're doing a quiz on Canvas. It's labeled as a quiz, but you guys can use this video to kind of help you go back, look over if you need to. Feel free to use any resources you have to help you answer those questions. If you need me for anything, as always, reach out, email me, get on the Zoom. It's kind of boring just having a Zoom screen of yourself for an hour. So get on if you need help. I'm available, email, whatever. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And hopefully we'll see you all soon.